The rectangular box contains the shot line, which will be, it's on pins right now, and when you get inside the building, there's another one in here. You can see how that is all rigged up. But the idea is that the shot line needs to be able to be shot without any knots or anything. So the cannon weighs 160 pounds, developed by an Army officer working for the Life Saving Service in 1888 at the Springfield, Massachusetts Armory. That cannon tonight will be loaded with 1.5 ounces of black powder in a little red flannel bag. But in reality, it has a range of 300 yards. With 1.5 ounces of powder, that shot, which you'll see in a minute, will go 150 yards. And right now, the required minimum distance for the cannon away from the pole, rec pole, is 75 yards. So right in the foreground here, surfer number 8 is putting the sand anchor to bed, basically. And then they're going to cover it up with more sand. But you see, the sand anchor has to be available on the cart for wherever the rescue is going to take place. It won't happen in front of the station, probably. So this is one of the things that takes extra time for us. In the old days, they would have had a permanent sand anchor, either a boulder or some kind of granite piece, or maybe even something dug in. But we don't have that luxury. Also, the keeper has the projectile, and that weighs 18 pounds, and that the shot line has been wet, and it's being tied to the end of the projectile. And before that gets loaded, obviously the powder has to be put into the cannon of the gun. It's called a Lyle gun, named after David Lyle, who was the lieutenant in the Army. This is after the Civil War, so he had all kinds of guns that he could experiment with. Now the whole idea is to get the line, the shot line, into the rigging of the ship. The projectile doesn't necessarily have to go in between the arms. Also, in the old days, they would have the surfmen standing down by the wreck pole waiting for the gun to go off. That is not allowed here.
David.
Surfer number 1 has the haversack, and inside the haversack is the various tools that they would need. But the red flannel bag, plural bags, would have been kept in there to keep the powder dry.
Loading the gun, no one to be in front or behind from now on.
We try to do everything according to the manual, which was updated in 1888. There are places in the United States who are not as accurate as we are, and they're not as good as we are either. Okay, now the gun's going to be aimed. The wind is not much of an issue, but it could be. And last week it was quite an issue, blowing about 30. We got maybe 5 to 8 miles an hour here, something like that.
That's what we're doing.
So there are 2 surfmen up on the top of the dune there, because there are people who may be in the national park, Cod National Seashore. They could wander into the field of fire. The last time this rescue technique was used on the East Coast was in January 1962 at Herring Cove in Provincetown, using equipment that was supposedly obsolete. And it was done by Bernie Weber, the same guy who ran the rescue of the Pendleton in 1952, 10 years before that. They didn't have a sand anchor, so they used a Dodge Power Wagon. Okay, the gun is being aimed You probably look at halfway up the pole, you'll see a dark round dot-like thing. That was, last year, the gun was fired and the projectile was hit the pole.
Oops.
And some guy comes up out of the audience and says, that must be a Poland one. I gotta use that every week. Okay, so there's a 32 caliber cartridge that's going to be inserted into the chamber. And then there's a spring-loaded firing mechanism with a lanyard, and the surfman number one will pull the lanyard after using the ear protection. When the ear protection goes on, you should be ready for the gun to go off. And you may want to cover your ears when the term ready is given. The 32 caliber cartridge is a blank, but when it's fired, it ignites the black powder.
Ready?
Clear.
Fire!
Whoa.
Good job.